Hello everyone, this is Miss Cromwell with this week's homework help. And this week's homework is, for math homework, is our study guide that we will be doing in class this week. We do have a math test on Friday, and this study guide mimics exactly what they're going to see on their test. So if your student is doing it in class, they're paying attention, they're doing it again at home with a parent's a guidance, they should do rather well. Okay, so here's some of the things we're working on. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I will do probably most, just so you know what we are doing. So we have on Monday, we have what number is placed in the box to make the equation true. So the equation is 11 plus blank equals 6 plus 9. So we have to figure out what's going into this box. Well, the first part is you need to figure out what 6 plus 9 is. Okay, 6 plus 9 is 15. We want students to show work. They have to show work for the majority of their problems. We would like every single one, but we're realists. They have to show their work. Okay, so 6 plus 9 is 15. Using this little caret, putting 15, that's great. Another strongly suggested one is a short little number line, right? So again, you could do 6 plus 9 to get your 15, but I'm going to use this number line to get to my next part, and I'm going to show you how. So 6 plus 9 was 15. 11 plus blank is going to equal 15. So we want these to be the same. Well, if we have 11 over here, how am I going to get to 15? And I strongly recommend putting 11 here. Oops, let me bring that down a little. And then adding 1, right? So 11, oh, that's 12. Add another one, that's 13. Add another one, that's 14. Add another one, that's 15. Boom. Okay, 15. How many jumps did we make? Well, we made 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. So 11 plus 4 is going to equal 15. Does 15 equal 15? Yes. So that is how we get our answer as A. Please notice how they have 15 as an option, because there will be plenty of students that don't think about what the question is asking, and they're like, oh, well, 6 plus 9 is 15. There's my answer. So just remind your students to slow down and think, okay? This question over here says place equal or not equal in the box to make sure each statement is true, okay? We want them to figure out, how is it true? Are they equal? Are they not equal? So again, we're going to use our little carets. Well, 5 plus 5, well, that is 10. 10 minus 5, well, that is 5. Are those the same? Nope, they're different. So that is not equal. And students at this point should know, because we have done this a lot since the beginning of the year, that not equal means that they are not the same. Okay? On the computer for this test will be like a little symbol. It'll have the equal sign, and then it'll also have the not equal sign. And students will click and then drag it to the correct one. So, and this right here is show work. So rewriting it on paper, doing 5 plus 5, doing a little caret, doing 10, and going like this. This is show work. This also lets us know if students, like if you count incorrectly. So maybe you're like, 5 plus 5 is 10, and maybe they said 10 plus 5 is 15. They would still hopefully get that it's not equal. That lets us know as teachers, like, okay, we need to make sure, like, the student knows, really pay attention to these signs. Okay. And then I'm going to do one more of these. If I come down here, 7 plus 2 is 9. 8 plus 1 is 9. Are those the same? 9 and 9? Yes, they are. So that would be equal. This one one of the ones on the bottom says Martin ate 65 Skittles and Holly ate 28 Skittles. Which strategy is the closest estimate to how many more Skittles Martin ate than Holly? So you ask your student, what do we want to know? Like before you even answer the questions, what do we want to know? Oh, well, we want to know the difference. We want to know how many more Martin ate. So if they hear the word difference, they should automatically think subtraction. Okay. However, many of our students are having a very hard time with reading. So I'm trying to also teach them test-taking strategies, right? If reading is hard for you and you have no idea what this says, you see the numbers 65 and 28. Okay, look at your answer choices. All of these are subtraction. So could you be adding? And the answer will be no. You have to subtract because all the options are subtraction. As third graders, we learned 3 different strategies to estimate, and some are more reliable than others. So theoretically, with this question, students would write down all 3 different ways and then figure out which strategy got them to the closest answer. However, many students are getting very confused, and also many third graders in general are not motivated to do that much work, right? Most third graders just want to get it done. So what I strongly recommend, because they will 100% get the answer correct if they just do the work, right? If we do 65 minus 28, 5, if you have 5, can you take away 8? The answer is no. So what do? We borrow. This 6 will become a 5. This 5, we're going to add the 1 right in front. Now we have 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 5 minus 2 is 3. Which one of these is closest to 37? Your students should say 35. All right, this next one is a little tough and it involves a lot of reading. Okay, this one is a big thinking question. So the question is, Caleb's mom is making lunch. She wants to make sure each person in her family will have a burger and a fruit cup. In order to have enough food, Caleb's mom should, so again, have your student cover up the answers. What should we do? How will Caleb's mom make sure she has enough food? And we've been working on this in class, and I asked the students before we even look at the options, and most of the kids will tell you, well, how about we ask who's coming, right? How many people do we have to feed? Because if we are only feeding 3 people, you probably only need enough for 3 people. If maybe it's a family reunion and you got 45 people, you might need to make sure you have enough food for 45 people, okay? So the students in class were like, oh, make sure you find out. I'm like, I agree. So let's look at our options. So A says estimate about how many of her family will eat a burger and fruit cup. When we went over this in class, a lot of students said, maybe, we have like a roundabout. And I told the students, I'm like, you're right. If you don't know for sure how many people are coming to a family reunion, that might work. But what if your family reunion has 60 people invited and you're like, maybe only 30 people, right? Maybe only 40, 30, 40. Maybe they only want burgers. And then the question comes, will we have enough? Because she wants to make sure that she has enough. So students were like, I don't know. So we put an M next to it for maybe. Oops, that does not look like an M. I apologize. That way they can come back to it. B says, find the exact number of burgers and fruit cups that are in one package. When we discussed this last week, a lot of kids were like, yeah. I said, really? Y'all think that? I said, okay. So I picked up, I had Jolly Ranchers in my my cabinet, and I pulled out the Jolly Ranchers, and I told the students, I said, you have the nutrition facts on the side, and it tells you, how many is usually in the box. I said, so if this was a bag of burgers, and there's 20 burgers, is that how many I will need for my party? Just however much is on the box. And I got kids thinking, no, because if you're only making it for your small family, right? If there's only 4 people in your family, why do we need to make 20 burgers? Or if you're making it for a family reunion and you have 60 people and you only have one box that has 20 burgers, again, you will not have enough. So this one is a slash and trash. This could not be the answer because just finding out how much is in one package is not helpful. Find the exact number of family members coming to lunch to know how many burgers and fruit cups to buy. And that is actually the answer, right? That is exactly what the kids told me in class, that we want to know how many people are coming. I told students in class, when you get to one that you really think is the answer, put like a star. Some kid was like, I can't make a star. And I told them, like, make a happy face or something that's going to get your attention to be like, hey, come back to this one. Okay. And then lastly, we said, estimate how many family members will want to eat a hot dog and not a burger. And some of the kids in class were like, yeah, because some people are want a hot dog. But again, you need to try to remind the students, did this problem mention anywhere in here about hot dogs? And the answer is no. So there's no way that D could be the answer. So that is another slash and trash. At this point, I would have students go back, reread, justify your answer, but C is your answer on this one. We want to find the exact number. All right, so that's Monday. Again, I'm not doing every single one. Let's see. Oh, here's a great one. So here is a word problem. Okay, our test has many, many word problems. I think it's like 6 or 7. So it says, Hendrix is driving 279 miles to his grandma's house. He drives 63 miles on Friday. He drives 55 miles on Saturday. Which is the closest estimate for how many miles Hendrix still has left to drive? And the first thing your student needs to ask, okay, I want to ask them, what are we trying to figure out? Like, what's happening? Okay, so without rereading it, ask yourself, what is happening? Oh, well, we're driving to grandma's house, and we know how many miles it takes to get there. And one day we did a certain amount, and then the next day we did a certain amount. So we got to figure out how many more how much longer, how many more. So that's what we want to find out. The next step is to start setting up a chart. Okay, so students are getting accustomed, some more than others, that when it comes to word problems, we always start like this, a nice big rectangle with a line down the middle in the center. And then the next question is we have to figure out how many parts is down here, okay? Because this is a multi-step word problem. And we got to figure out what we need to know. So, quick way to figure out that is ask yourself, how many different numbers are in here? We have 279, we have 63, and 55. So that is 3 different numbers. So this bottom one should be 3 different squares or cubes or whatnot. Make sure your student can still write inside, so you want it big enough. Now, on top is the total. Okay, the top of this type of diagram always has the total. So how many total miles is it to grandma's house? Well, we know that. It's 279 miles. So up there, we know that. Okay, so one day he drove 63. Another day he drove 55. Oh, and that's our question mark. That's the one we have to find. So there are 2 great different ways to do this. You can subtract in the go. You could add then subtract. So I'm going to show you both ways. And then your child, your student, usually will let you know which one is easiest for them. Because at the end of the day, we want whatever is easy for them to be able to be successful and get, the correct answer. All right. So one way is taking your total miles, 279, subtracting the first day, so minus 63. So 9 minus 3 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. And then 2 minus nothing is still 2. Okay? So we did that one. But now we got to take off 55. So then you'll take 216 minus 55. 6 minus 5 is 1. If I have 1, can I take away 5? The answer is no. No, you cannot. So I got to borrow. That 2 becomes a 1, and then you put the other 1 right in front. So now you have 11. 11 minus 5 is 6. 1 minus nothing is 1. So 161 is going to be the answer that goes up here. Okay? So, and then in your word problem, it said, what is the closest estimate? So if we have 161, which one of these is closest to 161, your answer is 160. Okay. The other way they could do it is you could add these first. So 63 plus 55. 3 plus 5 is 8. 6 plus 5 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus nothing is 1. So we have 118. All right, so now you would take this number and then you would subtract it from your total. 279 minus 118. 9 minus 8 is 1. 7 minus 1 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 1. So you get the same exact answer regardless. Most students are gravitating towards this method just because it's seemingly easier for some of them, just so that they're not like, okay, I got to add here and then subtract here. So, but it's two different methods. So whatever they prefer. Okay. Here's another. Both of these are multiple choice. One's subtraction, one is addition. I'm trying to get students in the habit of whatever the sign is, please circle it. Okay? Because it's supposed to help your brain realize like, hey, that's subtraction, or hey, we're adding. So also make sure your student is stacking. Okay, that is the easiest way to show their show work on their scratch paper. So for this specific problem, they would put 827 minus 265. Make sure they're circling their sign so they don't forget. And then also double check with your student that they are putting their ones in the one spot, the tens in the tens, and the hundreds in the hundreds. If it don't line up, they are going to get confused and it will get wrong. 7 minus 5 is 2. If I have 2, can I take away 6? Nope, no you cannot. What do you have to do? You have to borrow from the neighbor. So this 8 becomes a 7, and then that 1 goes right in front. So they can choose either to put the 1 right in front, right here to make it a 12, or scratch it and then write 12, whichever is easier. Just make sure that they are showing me how they regrouped, because some kiddos are doing this in their head and then they're forgetting that they either, like, I can see that they knew to regroup because they would get 6 down here, but then this number, a lot of kids are not changing, and then they're still doing 8 minus 2. So just keep reminding your kid like that you have got to show what you're doing on like every step. 12 minus 6 is 6. 7 minus 2 is 5. 562. 562. Okay. Many options are very similar. Like right here, if they did not regroup and they left at 8, 8 minus 2 would have been 6. All right. 662 is up here. And so some kiddos will be like, it's one of those. Many students will not go back to figure out what they did wrong. So another one is a lot of students keep taking the bottom. So like originally it was 2 minus 6. Many students are still saying 2 minus 6 is 4 because they know you can't subtract a bigger number from a small number. So we're just like, no, you gotta borrow, please, please, please. Okay. I'm not gonna do every single one of these because you guys can probably figure these out. This is an example that they are going to have on their test as well. All of these are. But these are blank. They're not multiple choice. So they have to type in this answer. Okay. So again, we need to see this show work on paper. So 546 plus 428. Okay. 6 plus 8 is 14. Carry the 1. There are so many kiddos not carrying it. Write it, please. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. 5 plus 4 is 9. So they would have to type 974. So students, I keep trying to tell them, slow down. Double check the answer that you did work for matches what you typed. Because if you made an error and maybe you put in a different number by mistake, computer just counts it wrong. Okay. This one's another great one. A basket contains 517 green apples and 484 red apples. How many apples are in the basket? Okay. Ask your student, are we adding or subtracting? They should ask say adding. Ask them, how do you know? And they should let you know, well, we want to know how many apples are in the basket. We don't care if they're red or green. We just want to know how many. So their show work should look something, or exactly, like 517 plus 484. 7 plus 4 is 11. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 8 is 10. 0, 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. 0, put your 1. 1 plus nothing and nothing is still 1. So 1001. Okay. You will notice right here, right, if you have 8 plus 1 and they didn't show this up here, they would have got 9. So they would have chose C and got it wrong. Okay. Some students aren't carrying anything. So and a lot of kids don't want to start in the ones. So if they said 5 plus 4 is 9, they're going to be like, oh, there we go. There's 9. 8 plus 1 is 9. 7 plus 4 is 11. And that's where they would have got that one. Okay, so just keep reinforcing, show your regrouping, because otherwise you'll get it wrong. Oops. Why is it not? Hold on, I'm hoping it focuses. Sorry. I don't know why it won't focus. All right, I'm gonna see if it comes back. All right, I don't know why this one won't focus. Hopefully it'll come in a moment. So I'm gonna just talk. The 3 on this page are all word problems. Let's see. There we go. Zayden has 315 Takis. He ate some of his Takis. Now he has 264. How many did he eat? Ask your kiddo, what are we doing? You know, I'm subtracting. Well, why? How do you know? Oh, well, he ate some. Like, he had a good amount, but he ate some. So we need to find out how many he ate. So again, have your kiddo do their box. Draw their line down the center. How many numbers do we have? We have 1, 2 numbers. See, this bottom part only has to be done in 2 spots. Do we know the total number? Yes. We know that he has 315. Okay. He ate some. We don't know how many he ate. He ate some. And now he has 264. So 264. So you had to figure out this one. I mean, if they put 264 on this side, it doesn't matter. Because this plus this is going to get that. So to get that, they're going to do 315 minus 264. 5 minus 4 is 1. If I have 1, can I take away 6? No, you cannot. Also, look up here, because if a lot of kiddos, they want to do 6 minus 1 and they put 5, and then they'll do 3 minus 2 is 1, and they're going to choose C, and they're going to get it wrong. Okay, tell them to slow down, think. Okay, so if you have 1, can you take away 6? No. What do you have to do? Ask the neighbor. 3 turns to 2. This 1, you can either write the 1 right next to it or cross it out and write 11, whichever is fine. Now you have 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. So your answer is 51. Okay. I did introduce kiddos how to check your answer. I said, if you want to make sure you're right, add this number with this number. So if he has 264 and I'm adding how many he ate, 4 plus 1 is 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Is that what we started with? Yep. Okay. However, many students, when I was like, let's check our work, and I heard a lot of, but I'm trying to I keep reminding them that 3rd grade is not the year to be lazy, because otherwise you are not going to be able to be successful. Okay. This is just another one, another word problem. Okay. This bottom is a multi-step one. I'll do this one real quick as well. A teacher made a candy salad for her class with a total of 587 pieces of candy. She used 3 different candies to make the salad. She used 143 of one candy. She used 132 of a second. How many did she use for the third? Okay, we read it. It's a word problem. I'm going to draw out my chart. How many different numbers do I see? I see 1, 2, 3. So we have 3. So that means I'm going to put the bottom part in 3 pieces. Okay, so do I know a total? Yes, I know the total because it tells me that the total is 587. Put 587 on top. We know that there's 143 of one candy. We know that there's 132 of a second. And that's what I need to do. So again, they can either add these and then subtract or subtract twice. I'm going to subtract twice. So 587 minus 143. So I'm kind of like going to mark it off so I don't forget I subtracted already. 7 minus 3 is 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. 5 minus 1 is 4. Okay, I'm going to take that number, 444, subtract this number, 132. 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. So this number will be 312, which is B. Okay. Please, 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 please make sure your student is using tools. Okay. Either a hundreds chart or a number line. There's a lot of them online. If you need one, let me know. I will print it. I will send it home. I'm not doing it every week, but I will send one home and you can just reuse it. All right, so Thursday is on the back. And this is a big practice. This is one that many students had a very hard time with Unit 1. And we will be spiraling back to review throughout the whole year. So since we do have our CSA coming up at the end of the month, I was like, oh, this is a good one. You're going to see this every week. Not this specific one, but with these type of examples. Okay. Students were taught, at least in my class, every time you see the word 1,000, that is where you want to do a box. Okay. Sometimes there's commas, but if you see the word 1,000, you want to make a box. Okay. So right here it says 139. How would you write 139? Oh, 139. If you see the word 1,000, that's how you know you need your comma. And then last you have 492. Well, how do you write 492? 492. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to find one that is going to throw them off. Let's do this one down here. So 170,859. Again, I see the word 1,000, so I'm going to box in this first part. 170. How do you write 170? Well, you write 170 like that. So you're going to write that over here, 170. I see the word 1,000. That's where I'm going to put a comma. And now you have 859. How do you write 859? Just like this. Okay. And then you just take it up here. Let's take a look. There'll be there will be an additional, answers problems as we go on, because I want them to get a lot of good practice. All right, so 328,202. Okay, again, I see the word 1,000. That is where I'm going to put a box. 328. 328. Okay, I'm going to write it right here. 328. I see the word 1,000. That's where my comma goes. Okay, but this part right here, 202. A lot of kiddos are seeing 2 and 2 and just writing that. And so then I asked the kiddos, because instead of me saying it's wrong, I want them to look at what they wrote. What number did you write? Oh, I wrote 22. Well, is that what that says? No, that says 202. I said, all right, so what do you have to do? What would you need to change? Well, students should probably, and most of them are at this point. They're like, well, 200, so let's pretend I don't have that. 200 looks like this, right? 2 looks like that. So that's expanded form, and they can either add those like this. Okay, so that's one option. Or another option, let me try to move, sorry. Another option, if they just did the 2 and the 2, and I'm like, okay, well, do you have a 1 spot? Yes. Do you have a 10 spot? I mean, if they said that's in the 10 spot, then I'm like, well, what happened to the 200? And they're like, oh, well, hold on, that 2 is the 100. So again, asking them, okay, well, if you have a 1 spot and a 100 spot, what are we missing? And some kiddos might be like, oh, we're missing the 10s. Other kiddos might be doing our little saying, which is one tiny hippo. So OTH, one tiny hippo, 1 10s, hundreds. If we don't have any 10s, we need to write a digit. And since we don't have any, the digit 0 represents none. So then you would take that, put it up here, and that is how you write this number that is in word form and put it in standard form. Okay. All right, next in our homework packet is something a little bit new. Well, it is new for homework. But we're hoping that this is going to give students an extra chance to use vocabulary. But we're also hoping that if parents know more specific words that students are hearing within the day, that they will use these more at home too. Okay. I'm trying to go quickly because I know this video is a lot longer than anticipated. So I apologize. Vocabulary. Our words, some of the words, these are not all of them. We have express, convey, block, entry, and conductor. Okay. And it also gives a definition. Okay. So each of these have a definition with it and what that specific word is meaning. And it says, write a sentence using the vocabulary from above. Make sure you are using the vocabulary word conduct correctly. Okay. And we say that because this word conductor, the one that we learned about last week, was a conductor directs a group of people who sing or play musical instruments. Okay. But we let our classes know there's other types of conductors, right? There's a train conductor. Another type of conductor is in science when like friction gravitates towards it, like metal and whatnot. Okay. So we want to make sure that your sentence is talking about musical instruments. Okay. We want a good sentence. Please do not say, I am a conductor, because that's not telling us that you know what that word means. A good one, or not a good one, but one that you could, a student may say is, I want to be a conductor in a band. And that works because band, we know we're talking about musical instruments. Okay, so there's plenty of sentences they could come up with, but again, we want to make sure that they are connecting it to the definition. So I am a conductor is not telling us they know what it means. Okay. Entry is another one up here. Entry means you go into something. It can mean going into a place or going into a diary to write something new. Okay. So this one has two different ones. I should have double checked this so I can make it more clear. So if your student wants to talk about how they entered into a building, I walked through their entryway, but we did talk about entries a lot because we're talking about diaries and poems. And so I might put for entry, I wrote an entry in my diary about my day at school. So again, it is a complete sentence. I know that these lines seem like they're small, but it's about the same width that we use in class, and we have learned and realized that a lot of third graders cannot write small. Like, we are really need to be working on our our penmanship. So writing neater and smaller as needed. Quickly on the back, we have synonyms and antonyms. So it says to tell whether each pair of words are synonyms or antonyms. Children should be writing the whole word. Do not write just S or A. If I give out weekly homework prizes, they will not get one. Okay? Third grade is not for unmotivated individuals, unfortunately. Okay? Ask students, what does synonyms mean? We talk about this every week. Okay? Synonyms are words that have the same or similar meaning. So they both have S's. Okay? Antonyms that have words that are opposite. So number 1 is agree and disagree. Also, there is a prefix dis that is on our test this week. Dis means not. So if you agree and then someone else not agrees or disagrees, are those the same or opposite? They're opposite, so students should be writing antonyms. It should be spelled correctly. It's directly in front of them. Okay? If kids are writing same and opposite, I'm going to have them erase and go try it again. Okay? We are writing synonyms and antonyms. Okay? That is what this whole entire page is for. Okay? On the next one is where it's going to vary per student. Most students are going to have this comprehension check. We've done them all year long. But we want students to keep working on that annotation piece and writing these in complete sentences. We don't care if you're coloring it with red, orange, or whatever colors, but we do want them underlined where you find your answer. So who went to the pumpkin patch? Bill and Jill went to the pumpkin patch, and that's what they would write. Okay. Some students have a different one. Okay. We have some kiddos who are well advanced in their reading skills. And now that I'm looking for it, of course, I cannot find it. All right. Well, do I have an example? There it is. All right. Some kiddos are really, really, really advanced in their reading skills. So this is much closer to our third grade level. Okay, lengthwise, it's not that bad, but it's homework, so it works. Okay, students should still be reading this. I would say at least twice. How did Andy's jealousy get in the way of his friendship with Jerry? They still need to go back here and annotate, and this still needs to be in a complete sentence. So nothing is changing with that. And then there is one other one for some students who are having a super, super, super hard time reading, and that's only for a very select few kiddos. They have that instead of those because we are trying to help fill in some gaps. If you have any questions about homework, please reach out, and I will see you guys on Monday.